one of the best way to visually describe a single quantitative variable is through a histogram. So in this demonstration, I'm going to show how to create a histogram out of the data that we have right here, which is building height in Portland, Oregon, and the number of stories that the buildings are. In order to create a histogram, you already have to have the data analysis tool pack installed. If you don't, please watch the video on data analysis, on how to install the data analysis tool pack. Here we have it installed already. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on data analysis. This opens up a list of options for us to select and perform different analysis on sets of data. We want a histogram, so we're going to highlight histogram and click OK. Now, the input range, it's already auto-detecting. Okay, just to show you, I'm going to get rid of it and do it manually. So input range is the data that we're doing, that we're constructing the histogram from. So with that cursor in there, I come over and I drag over my data and select it. Your bin range is the bin values that you want to use to construct your histogram. And again, bin values are the ranges that we're going to have counts calculated, and the frequency, for instance, between 10 and 20, between 20 and 30, between 30 and 40, and so on and so forth. The frequency of how many of our data fit into each one of those ranges. We want to make sure we have chart output selected, which we do here. That'll not only calculate the frequencies in each bin, but it's also going to output a chart for us. So we click OK. Now what you'll notice down here is that it created another sheet. Sheet 1 was where our data was. It created what's called sheet 5, okay, where it has the bins listed again, but then it also has the frequencies. Okay. Now the 10 here means 10 or fewer, which there was one that fit into that category. The 20 means 20 down to 10, which is 3. 3 fit into that range of data, and so on and so forth. Now there's a couple things we want to do that make the chart easier to work with. First thing we want to do is we want to remove this chart from this sheet and put it in a sheet of its own so that it's not overlaid over this spreadsheet. So what we're going to do is, with our chart highlighted, we're going to right click on it and select Move Chart. And I'm going to have the chart moved to a new sheet. And I'm going to title that new sheet Chart. And click OK. Now you'll notice that it opened up the chart in its own window, and down here you'll see a new sheet was created labeled Chart, where our chart now exists. If you go back to sheet 5, notice our chart is no longer there. The histogram is no longer there. It got moved to this new tab down here. So now we have our own window to work in on our histogram. So a couple things about this histogram that need to be changed. Number one is that in a histogram you don't want space between your bars, because space means that there were no counts in that range, that the frequency was 0. So we want to make sure that if they should be touching, they are touching. So what we do is we click once on any of the bars, left click, right click, opens up an option menu, and we're going to click on Format Data Series. This window comes up and you'll notice that the second option here is gap width. Right now it's set at 150%. We are going to decrease that to 0. And you'll notice that as I do that, the gap between each bar goes down to 0%. And close. So now we have the bars behaving like they should in a histogram, where they're right next to each other. However, we still do have an issue down here with the labeling on the x-axis. You'll notice that the labeling has 10, 20, 30, so on and so forth. This bar right here does not represent how many buildings were 10 stories. It represents how many buildings were 0 to 10 stories. So we need to adjust this axis. To do that, we're going to go back to the sheet that was created with our bins and frequencies. And in the bin column, what we're going to do is we're going to adjust what's in these columns. We know that the 10 is supposed to be all the buildings with 0 to 10 stories. So I'm going to type in 0-10 to represent 0 to 10. Hit my down arrow. Now for 20, we know that's 10 to 20. So 10-20 to represent 10 to 20. Now you'll notice that as I did that, it converted it to a date, 10/20, October 20th. Excel has some auto formatting that is automatically set up when you start a new file, a new spreadsheet. So what we want to do is we want to highlight all of these values that we're going to be changing. Come up here to where it says number in the home tab, and we want to convert them to text. We want to convert it to text, even though they're not numbers. Okay? We want to convert it to text. It'll leave it exactly as we enter it. So what we're going to do is now 10 to 20, and it'll stay like that. This is 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, and this just says more, so that means more than 90. So we've changed it here, and what's nice is it auto updates back in our chart. You'll notice now that we've gone back to our chart, all of the labels along the x-axis have changed to the appropriate range. So now we can read this as there were 3, because that's the height of the bar, 3 buildings that were between 10 and 20 stories. Now the other thing that needs to be adjusted on this is to put in appropriate labels. To do that for our chart label and our vertical and horizontal axes labels, to do that we go to Layout. In Layout, the option of Chart Title is what we're going to select first, and we want to have a chart title above the chart. Okay? It's already there, so what we can do is just click in it. Okay, that would open up. Just click in it, and it allows us to edit this. So I'm going to label this as Building Heights in Portland, Oregon. Now, if we didn't have these labels on the vertical and horizontal axes, we would come up here to Axis Titles and select either horizontal or vertical. Okay, right now the vertical one is a rotated tile, and our horizontal is the title above axis. But because those are already there, we can just come in here and click in here and edit the titles already there. So I'm going to retitle my horizontal axis as Building Height, and then my units are going to be in stories. So Building Height in stories. And here I'm just going to leave it as frequency, because a histogram tells you the frequency of each range. And from here you can edit, you can change colors, resize things, and just reformat however you want. But now we have a working histogram with appropriate labels, an appropriate chart title. The bars are have no space between them, and our ranges are appropriately labeled for each of our bins.